You are listening to the Dr.Grande podcast. Another episode begins right now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And another warm welcome to you. Welcome to this week's podcast. I appreciate whether you're watching us via the YouTube, Spotify. I don't know what's going on with Apple. We applied to have our podcast on there, but I haven't heard back from them. Maybe we're just too grande, if you will, for Apple. I don't know. But nonetheless, I appreciate you tuning into this week. And I have to admit, normally I sit down in the chair and I have a kind of an idea of what I was going to talk about. But if you've been watching the stream and you're kind of familiar with everything, you know that the stream and everything, I've been hinting at the fact that the last couple of weeks have been just downright awful. It's just like anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And, you know, I try to stay a positive person and I try to practice what I preach. I try, if I tell you guys something and I share something with you guys, I try to uphold that to every word I say. But like I've been saying, I'm imperfect, you know, and I know it comes as a shock to a lot of you, I know. But the important thing is that it's how you deal with it. It's not necessarily the problems, that the problem is your response that matters the most, you know. And like I said, I've come to the conclusion that problems are opportunities. Problems may suck, but there's an opportunity within that problem. So I had an idea in mind that I wanted to share, but I gotta share the story with you guys. And, you know, again, I'm not here to preach at you, like I said in the very first episode. But I just want to share, and you know, part of the podcast is that I can share what I think, and you guys can correspond, and you know, the correspondence is always open. You can always email in and whatnot. But I just always like to share what's going on in my life, and hopefully, maybe something you find enjoyment at the least, or you find something very useful that you can apply in your life. You know, so I don't think it's a secret now that my father passed away. He passed away July 2nd. And people are like, why are you talking about this? Well, hold on there, Billy. Let me set the stage here. And I have to say that, and I'm not using this as a woe's me or just to get sympathy or start drama on the internet or look for people to just be like, oh my God, that's terrible. And, you know, doing a publicity stunt. It's true. It happened. But just as the weeks were going by, and let me just say, if you ever deal with an estate, the aftermath of losing a loved one, it's horrible. It's tragic. None of it's easy. And then you're trying to go through figuring out what to do, making next steps, making decisions, while still trying to cope with the someone that you love not here. And that's a hard thing to do. Some people can do it with ease. I've been doing it to the best of my ability, and it's just kind of hard to do. And, you know, life's kind of funny when you think things are getting worse. And if you keep the right thing in mind, you keep doing the things we've been talking about on the podcast, and previous podcasts, I should say, you'll find that the tides turn. And I think this week was a very powerful reassurance of that. And a good life lessons. There's life lessons out there, whether you're up to them, if you recognize them, that's up to you. So you always want to make sure you're able to recognize them. But the thing is, my dad always had this lifelong friend. And he goes by the name of Goat. And that sounds weird, but that couldn't be the best way to describe him. Because GOAT is an acronym that's been used recently, greatest of all time. And this guy's been known my dad before I was born. And he's known my dad his entire life. And the way they treat each other and their friendship were like they could have been brothers. And if there's anyone who would come to an aid, or if I needed something, he'd be the first one I'd call. And I did call on him. Because there was a lot of stuff to sort through and stuff that I couldn't fit, there's a lot of stuff. But you want to talk about someone who dealt with respect and integrity, humility. See, he had a great relationship with my dad. But because he loved my dad, and because he respected my dad, because they had a relationship, he extended that, and always has, to the things and the items that my dad loved, and that were important to my dad, and that was my brother and I. And when you get a call and you're in the middle of a storm or a crossroad, and you call someone, it's very disturbing when the other person who you're supposed to be there is not willing to help, or just doesn't want to be bothered by anything. Because and what I find lately is that people just want to just not be bothered by anything that is no importance to them. And there have been people I've called for help, and they were busy and stuff, but whatever. Life's complicated, and I can't really fault them for that. But then you have those people who you can call, and they could be in the middle of an ocean, overseas, sleeping, doing something important, and they will come to your call. They will move hell and earth, heaven and earth, hell and water, whatever, to come and respond to your call. And that's what GOAT did. He was on an assignment. I'm not going to go into details about that. He was a good, fair distance away from where I was, where he lived. But there was not a hesitation anytime I called and would need to talk to him, call him, ask him to show up. There was not a single hesitation. And I think part of the things we are lacking in this world, everybody goes, the world's full of problems. The world just sucks. But the problem, one of the big problems is that integrity, people of integrity, people of genuine friendship, people who are genuine are missing. And that's a big problem. Because with people like GOAT, there are a person that you can call, and if they said they're going to do something or be somewhere at a specific point in time or do XYZ, they will do it. No questions asked. And we were talking. He was here for a couple days, and we were talking, and his wife was talking about like office politics that she experienced in her last assignment, blah blah blah. And it just occurred to me so clearly, and it's interesting because you could be in the middle of a problem, but then you think you're the only one in the problem, but you realize it's not just subject to you or your area or your state or your office. See, the problems that we experience, that we go through, the crossroads, the challenges are not just unique to us. There are other people going through them, working through them as we speak. As I sit here and as I am talking to you, people are going through similar things that you are. Maybe different variations of it, but they're going through it. And the analogy I made was this. If I had to describe, we're talking about this, social situation and stuff like that, and just humanity at this given point in time. You know what it is? Well, let me ask you this. How would you describe it? Would you describe it as hunky-dory, dog eat dog? How would you describe, and it could just be unique to your area, your country, your city, what are the people like? And unfortunately, and I don't take pride of saying this, and it hurts to say this sometimes, but truth hurts sometimes, and you just got to be honest. But what I said is that humanity right now, in my view, is like a big crab pot. And the significance of that is that you could be if you ever watch a crab pot, for those of you who may not be living by an ocean, so people go crabbing, they put this big round container and the crab goes in there and you get stuck. And you get several crabs in there. And the crab will try to escape naturally. And as one is getting close to that mark to escape, another one will pull him down because he doesn't want him to escape because he wants to escape. And that analogy sticks so well with me about the state of how we are as a society. And I'm not trying to preach doom and gloom here. I'm not preaching at all. But just go out on your street. Go to the mall. Hell, drive down the road. And you'll see what I'm talking about. And what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is that people are in it for themselves and only themselves. They got the tunnel vision on. They don't care. They want theirs and that's it. There's no consideration on the other side. And those so-called friends that you have are like the crabs when you get successful. You start making good money. You start having a good job. You start trying to go after your passions and ambitions and maybe stream or start your own podcast or whatever. The people who you thought were the loyalists, the people thought you were on your side are like that crab pulling you down. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm not trying to tell you you don't have friends, you can't trust anybody. But what I'm telling you is that the people you trust, the people you allow in your circles, have to be carefully picked. And I'm also telling you, and this kind of, in a miraculous way, ties together what I originally wanted to talk about, was the company you keep. You think people are bad, strangers are bad? It's the people that you keep in your inner circles, the people you associate yourself with that affect you more than you may realize. A lot of times we think we're the problem. A lot of times we think, it's us. We have an issue. We can't break through this limit that seems we keep hitting and hitting and hitting. But oftentimes we don't look at what we're hanging around, what we're listening to. Last week I talked about what goes in your mind has an effect on what you do, how you think, what you produce. So once you listen to that podcast and you got that straight up, now you have to look at the people you keep. And it's very evident. The proof's in the pudding. Look at successful people. Look at entrepreneurs. Are they hanging out with people who are small-minded? Are they hanging out with people who are just okay with whatever life throws at them? No. Why? That's the important question. Why? Because if you're itching to grow, if you're itching to change, then you need to be around like-minded people. You need to be around people who what I like to call sharpen you. And that you guys are sharpening each other. And you guys are going and doing your own things, but you're contributing to one another through sharing experiences, sharing common goals, and sharing successes and all that stuff. Like-mindedness is important. It's good to have variations. It's good to have differences. You don't have to see eye to eye on everything. But if you're an ambitious person and you're not around like-minded, ambitious people in different variations, you're going to have a hard time. When I first started the stream and I started the stream and I was looking to grow, and I got frustrated because everybody had an answer. Everybody had a critique. Everybody's like, well, Doc, you should really do it like this. You should do it like that. And, criticism's good, don't get me wrong. But if they're not willing to do it, and they're just willing to just sit there and critique and not put any effort or do anything of the like, what good is it? Maybe they have some valid points, maybe. But see, everybody has a way to criticize, but they're not willing to do the work that you're doing. Because suddenly when I was streaming and everybody had a critique, it seemed like everybody was a stream expert and I was just the only noob who didn't know how to stream. It was frustrating. And instead of getting frustrated and, kind of just not wanting to stream, I just take it with a grain of salt. And I start to find people who are like-minded, who are maybe starting to stream and figuring things out, or maybe who are established streamer and have figured things out, and we can kind of talk and converse, and we could feed off each other. That's the way for growth. That's the way for prosperity. That's the way to initiate change in your life. It's sometimes you make all the changes. You have the right things in mind. You have the right skills and the right abilities, but you cannot make that next step until you make a connection. You can't do it all by yourself, is what I'm trying to say. I don't care if you have a degree from Harvard, Yale, Stanford, MIT, whatever. And I talk about, and people are like, whoa, Doc, you talk about breaking limits. Yeah, I'd say break limits, but sometimes you need, and there will be a time where you need a connection. Look at the job market. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. A lot of times in current situations with people getting employed, it's not that they know something or they're the smartest, the most qualified, it's who they know. And I'm just being real with you guys. I'm just being honest with you guys. And I'm just saying, can we talk? Can we be honest with each other? So bringing this kind of from me to you, I'm saying, what are your ambitions? What are you striving towards? What are you longing for? Write it down. Just like everything I leave in other streams and podcasts and stuff, I leave you with food for thought, and I hope you take time to think about it. And whatever you are answering, whatever you write down, you need to find a connection that gets you there. You may want to do college. Maybe you haven't done college. Make a connection with someone who has done college. They can give you experience. They can give you advice. They can give you a kind of a general idea how the system works. You want to be a mechanic. You want to be a mathematician. You want to be a streamer. Make the connections with the right people. this is also true for relationship advice. I remember in my longest relationship, I was in a relationship for 10 years. And people would, and you know, people may have a point or two. I'll give you that. But I always find it comical that people who are not in a relationship, people who are not serious in a relationship, people who don't have time for a relationship, trying to tell me and my girlfriend at the time how a relationship should be. That's like me telling the doctor how to do my operation. Like I'm on the operating table for a lot. Like, you know, doc, you should use that scalpel and you should make an incision right here. Why are you doing that? Screw your knowledge. And this leads to me to another point, is that the people you hang around, you associate with, will affect you personally and professionally. Just like I just told you that there are people constantly trying to give a relationship advice. I was with my girl or my ex, I should say, for a good time, and people were like, when do you get married? When do you get married? Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, we're just finishing high school, going to college and stuff. So I had some stuff on my plate, and, you know, what it is. You'll know when you're ready. Don't let anybody pressure you to do stuff for your relationship. It's your guys' relationship. But the point I'm trying to make is that you allow the doors to be open with what other people tell you. If people say, hey, your boyfriend, girlfriend's a dirtbag, you can open the door to start to see that point. You could be like, you know, he streams too much. He you know, he does podcasts too much. He doesn't have time for you. And you can start checking out because you allow what someone said to take root in your mind. And what I said last podcast, what happens in the mind comes out in real life. It must be conceived on the inside before it's received on the outside. So what I'm saying is the people it goes hand in hand. These two podcasts, all the podcasts are connected, but especially the last one and this one are very connected because it's the people putting the stuff in your mind. The music you listen to, the people you hang around, the advice you're given, you allow into your circles that affect your thinking. And, you know, I've heard a lot of times where people go, oh, I got 4,000 followers. I got 757 friends. I got 8,000 friends on Facebook, whatever. But I bet you money, as impressive that number may or may not be, less than 10% would be there for you if you needed it. So what I'm saying is that in this world, we need more people who can be like my dad's friend and my friend Goat, who is a person of integrity, humility, who thinks greater than themselves. Because we live in an environment, in a world where it's just all about me, 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 me. Start looking outward. Keep your goal, your ambitions in mind. But it doesn't help or hurt to care about somebody else or how your interaction with someone else affects another person. Just saying. See, it's the fundamentals that if we get that stuff down in society, all the big stuff that we're fighting towards would be much easier to deal with. But right now we're fighting amongst ourselves. We're looking for reasons to divide ourselves. We don't care if someone trips behind us or whatever. You know, I was talking to a friend, and he said, I used to, if I saw a car on the road and it was like a mom or something, I'd be willing to help. Because I know how stressful it is. You have a kid or something, like, or a girl or something, they're Maybe it's a stereotype, I don't know. But most likely don't know or what they're doing and how to get fixed. But I just felt compelled to help them. But he says, I can't help them anymore. And I said, why? He said, with all this political garbage going around and the Me Too movements and all that stuff, he's like, I don't want to put myself on the line for trying to help someone. And then they said I was trying to be forceful and have my way with them. I mean, that's where we are as a society. That's where we are right now. And maybe if you live in a town that's not like that, then tell me what town you live in and I'm going to come live there. Because I think we should live in a town where we can help neighbors and help strangers and, you know. But it just struck me as odd and sad that you might be criticized or even falsely accused of doing something for wanting to genuinely help somebody. I'm just saying we need men to act like men. We need men with integrity. We need men to lead. I mean, think about all the absent people out there. I think we're living in a generation that's, I think, the highest number with kids living out without father figures. And look at where we are today. Look at the mess that we are into. Because we need good, strong leaders. We need people with integrity. We need people to take responsibility and be accountable and teach that to other generations, to their offsprings. So there's me. I don't give a shit about you. I don't give a shit how this action is going to affect other people. Oh, you know, you can keep the kid. I don't want the kid. I'll just send you a check every month, blah, blah, blah. That's our biggest problem. Fundamentals is our biggest problem. So once you do that, start looking at the people that you are hanging around. Are they sharpening you? Is it a one-way street? Are you bouncing ideas of life and stuff? Are you growing it together and prosperity? Or are you just with someone who's going to be in the same position they are no matter how much time goes by? They're just fine. Or they just don't care. And I'm not saying don't have a friend not like that, cut off relationships. I'm saying invest your time with the people and the things that are going to move you to where you want to be in life. I mean, I'll admit it. I have friends that are in the high school mode. And I'm not talking down on them, but they're just like always just in that high school mode. And what I mean by that, it's just like they're just all about party. That's it. And life's a big party. You go to work so you can pay for the party. That's it. And it's fine. That's fine. That's their life. They're great guys. They're great personalities. But I have the choice to go, do I spend the time being consumed by this party mentality, or do I go be productive, and then when I have time management, go party with them? And I'm just saying, like I said at the first podcast, getting older, it makes you go, what am I doing with my time? And you're starting to be a second pincher. Instead of a penny pincher, you're a second pincher. And you're trying to manage your time. And I'm just saying, you got to spend your time making connections to get that next level, that next step, okay? So the challenge for you this week, if you got all that, if you listened to all the podcasts and you kind of follow along with this kind of new beginning, I'm doing the same thing, by the way. This is me going through this, and I'm taking you with me for a journey and for a ride. So it's not just me that has gone through this, and I'm just sitting up here high and pretty on the mountain watching you guys come towards me. No, I'm right in the heat with you, okay? But the challenge for this week is to figure out where you want to go. Figure out your time management and find a connection. Make a connection. Whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be, I would prefer you to go talk to somebody in person, because nothing beats face-to-face interaction with people, I think. That's the best form of communication, I think. Whether it's Facebook, whatever means you have, make a new connection that can, and it may not be the only one. You may have to make a couple to get that one good one, but start making connections to propel you in the direction you want to go. Okay? And then let me know about it. Okay? We will leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in for the podcast. Be sure to get connected with us. Hit that follow button if you're on Spotify, or subscribe if you're on YouTube, and make sure don't miss the stream. Okay, guys, I'll see you next week. Have a good one.